Hello. Hello, everyone. We're going to do a quick recap today for episode 8, the finale episode of Genius Game. So we've got a bit of stuff to talk about with what happened in the finale and a couple things that they left out that I think are fun stories to share with you guys. And also what happened after the finale was finished filming. And then just some updates on some things moving forward. So this picture that I've got on the slide is hilarious. So this was made by Naomi in the Genius Discord. I just think it's hilarious, this photo of Ken like watching our death match, but it turns out that he's actually watching my YouTube recaps. I sent it to him and he thought it was funny, so I figured I would share it here. Thanks to Naomi for making that and giving us a laugh. So yeah, the reunion episode has been filmed, and I'm planning to release it tomorrow, I think, on Friday. It's almost 3 hours long, and we don't talk about Genius Game for the whole entire time. It's sort of we talk about the game a lot of the time, but sometimes we're just talking about other stuff as well. So yeah, I don't really know how to edit, nor do I really care to edit the videos. So if you want to watch us chatting shit for 3 hours together and having some laughs, then this is the video for you. But otherwise, like, yeah, it's probably too long. I also just wanted to say a huge thanks for everybody for watching these videos, and I hope you've enjoyed them. Like, I didn't really intend for many people to actually watch this stuff, but it turns out that across all of the recap videos that I've done, there's like 20,000 views, which is kind of insane. Like, I really didn't think that people would watch these. It's been more like cathartic for me to like do them and process them and be able to talk about the experience. So the fact that you guys have watched and enjoyed hearing my biased and delusional perspective is really nice. Okay, so let's get into the finale. So well before the season ever started, I told you guys we basically had to come up with our own outfits. So in preparing for the show, we had to come up with 8 or 9 outfits in case we made it the whole time. And it was always my plan to do something a little bit over the top for the finale. And so I was obsessed at the time with these like kaftans, and I was searching online and I found this this really cool company called Fumbalinas. And Fumbalinas makes these really gorgeous sequin kaftans. And so I was looking through there, and initially I wanted something that was like matched the colors of the show, which I knew at that time from seeing one logo before filming. I knew it was going to be this like gold and silver and white. And so I looked for that. But they didn't really have anything like that. But I found this one that I ended up buying. And I remember sending it to one of my friends to see what they thought. And I sent it to the wardrobe person from the show. And they were like, you have to do this. Like, this is so great. You have to do it. But I was really, really nervous. And so I ended up buying it, and I ended up bringing it to the show. But then obviously I got eliminated right before the finale. And so my idea was like, you know, I'm going to be one of the 2 finalists wearing this like crazy kaftan and I can win the Genius Game. And then I was like, I don't know if I really want to wear this. Like, if I'm, you know, not one of the finalists and I'm just watching everything. And then I was getting just a bit scared, basically. Like, I was chickening out when we were there filming. And the stylist person was like, no, you have to do it. It'd be so cool. And the wonderful makeup artist, Nikki, who did my makeup every morning before the episodes, she was one of my favorite people, like, from the whole experience, because every morning I would come into my dressing room and I was always like really anxious and like nervous about starting the day. And she just had such a calming presence. Like, her voice was so calm and she was so nice and like so sweet to me, like every single morning. And she was like, you're doing great. Like, you can do this. And she also complimented my skin, which is crazy because I do not have nice skin. She was just so lovely. And when she saw like the kaftan look, she was like, we have to do something fun for it. And so actually there was a lot going on the day we filmed the finale because everybody had come back. So there was not much time. So as soon as I got to my dressing room at the studios, there was like minutes before they were like, throw your outfit on and come out to like do some filming or like to do something. And so there was only, I think there was like 3 makeup artists that were sort of rotating around everyone's dressing rooms, and they didn't have a lot of time. But Nikki was so wonderful. She spent like as much time as she could with me, because we had talked about doing my makeup like special for this finale episode. And so we did like the lip, and I had fake eyelashes on and a bit of eyeliner. And she was just, I think she was really excited to do it and to have something different, like for makeup. Oh, my camera's gone a bit blurry. Hopefully that fixes itself. Yeah, she was really excited to do something a bit different and a bit crazy. So yeah, the main reason that I wanted to do this whole thing with this kaftan was because growing up, I hope this, oh, there, camera's not blurry. So growing up as a gay kid, like I watched a lot of reality TV, and actually the only gay people that I knew were people that I saw on reality TV. So when I was like 12 or 13, I think was when The Real World New Orleans was on. And so there was a guy called Danny who was on that show. And I remember like feeling like he was such a hero, and like he was dating this guy who was in the military at the time. And because of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, they had to blur out his boyfriend's face when he came on the show. And like, I think I have followed Danny like since his time on The Real World, and it was actually like a really traumatic experience for him, which is really terrible. And I'm really sad that it, you know, wasn't a wholly positive experience for him. But I think one of the positive things that did come from people like him who were brave enough to share their real lives and their real stories on reality TV is that people like me were able to see gay people on TV and realize that like there is a place for us in the world, even if there's not a place for us wherever we're growing up or wherever we are at that time. And there's a few other people as well, like people on Survivor and also on The Mole. Like I just remember watching these gay people and being like, okay, I can be a gay adult. Like there are gay adults in the world, and some of them are pretty cool, amazing people. So I really felt like being able to be on one of these competitive reality shows, I felt like for the most part, I was there to play the game. But then I also felt like I wanted to represent who I am as a gay person, as a queer person. And that's what I was trying to do here. Like I just felt a lot of responsibility basically. And with as horrible as things are right now in the US and in the UK and all over the world with respect to gay people and trans people and non-binary people, I just wanted to do something that was going to fuck with gender norms, fuck with gender roles, and just be in people's face and just use that opportunity to represent. So yeah, I was nervous about it, but I'm really glad I did it in the end, because I felt like it was quite a cool thing. So once I was ready, what happened is they took us from our dressing rooms and they brought us down to the set. But basically, you saw from the episode that they had people enter the set one at a time in the order that we got eliminated in. And so basically what they did is they had us like in the building where the set was. The set was sort of in the middle with the big walls, but there was space all around the set for the cameras and the crew and people to walk around outside the set. And so they basically had us all positioned in a giant circle, like around the set, with our headphones on, but we were far enough that we couldn't really see too many people ahead of us in the line. So like I could see Bex ahead of me and Bedalia, but I couldn't see anyone else ahead of her. And I think that's because they wanted the people coming in who had been eliminated not to know who was going to come in right behind them. They wanted everything to be a surprise. And so I remember like we were meant to have our little headphones on that blocked out the noise, but I sort of like shifted mine so that they were on the side of my ear so I could hear what was being said. I remember hearing people talking like in the atrium. I couldn't hear it super well, but I remember them talking about like, oh, you know, who do you think's coming next? Who do you think's coming next? And, you know, who do you think's going to be the final two? And I remember being annoyed that no one was saying that they thought that I was going to be in the final two. I was like, how dare these people not think that I'm a big threat in this game? But I was like so awful this day. Like I really truly was, because I was like, I'm wearing this kaftan. I want to have this big dramatic moment when I come into the set. And so I kept saying like so many times to various people in production, I was like, are Badali and I coming in together? I don't think we should come in together. Like, I think we should come in separate. And actually, he should go first, and then I should come in next. Because then it's like, oh, I'm third place and he's fourth place. And I want my own moment, like coming into the set. I was like a complete diva. So back in episode 1, when I said my words were focused in diva, I was living up to the diva part today in the finale day. So obviously they were going to have Badali and I come in together because we were eliminated together. But yeah, that didn't stop me from trying to get like my own moment of entering by myself. But yeah, it was really fun to wait in that queue around the set, and then it was our turn to come in, and so we sort of came in and had this like fun moment of being able to see all the other contestants and to talk to them again, which was really, really nice. Of course, I immediately, when we see everyone, instead of, I'm sure we did say like hello and give hugs and stuff, but like the first thing I do is say to them, by the way, everybody, I put Ken in the death match way back in episode 3. Like when I saw it on the episode last night, I was watching it with Ken and Charlotte. I was like, why am I so insufferable? At all times, I have to point out to everybody how smart and amazing and great I am. Yeah, I hope that's something that I work on about myself moving forward, because it's like, who wants to root for that guy? Like, it's just so obnoxious. So I thought that was funny. They didn't show it, but Ken and Charlotte were given some time to try to influence us about who we would give our advantages to. And probably one of the reasons they didn't show it is basically because Ken was just sort of like, yeah, I don't really want to chat to anyone about who they give their advantage to. Like, Ken was perfectly happy for everyone to just make their decision and give their advantage to who they wanted. I think Charlotte was more willing to talk with people and maybe try to sway some people to her side. So really, most of that time was just spent with people in the lounge chatting with Ken. I think at one point Charlotte left and went to the study and was sort of talking to various people, but Ken just sort of took the time to sit there in the lounge and chat with people. Basically, everyone was fine with what they were doing, except Paul didn't really know what to do. I mean, obviously he wasn't there for very long, so I think he was actually wanting to talk to Ken and Charlotte. And I think more than anything else, I think that Paul wanted some screen time from the finale, which is fair. I mean, he was on the show the least out of everybody. So I think he was really wanting some time with Ken and with Charlotte, and to make this thing like, ooh, who's Paul going to give his advantage to? So Paul didn't really like it, that Ken wasn't really wanting to chat with people. And so I remember at one point, I took Paul out into the hallway and I was like, yeah, Paul, I think it makes sense. Like, you were such a game player and you were really like wanting to play the game. Like, maybe you should give your advantage to the person who actually wants your advantage the most and is like willing to actually, play the game and try to get your advantage. And I was like, I think Charlotte would really appreciate your advantage. So I feel a little bit guilty about it now, obviously, because Ken is a really close friend. But at the time, Ken was not my close friend, and I was a bit salty that he had made the final and I didn't. So yeah, I was definitely trying my best to campaign on Charlotte's behalf to try to get her as many advantages as I could. So sorry, Ken. But yeah, it turned out actually that most of the group, well, maybe not most, but a decent number of people in the group essentially wanted it to be even between Ken and Charlotte. So, for example, when Paul and Scott gave their advantages to Charlotte, I think one of the reasons why Basha gave hers to Ken was because she didn't want Charlotte to go up with 3-0 lead. And so she kind of just wanted it to be even. And the same thing with Bedalia and Allison. Like, I think had Ken had a huge lead over Charlotte, I actually think that Bedalia and Allison might have given theirs to Charlotte just to make it even. Which, I mean, that's fine. People can give their advantage to who they want to. I certainly was going to give my advantage to the person who I felt like deserved it the most. And that's how I wish other people would have done it, but it's their advantage to give. The other thing that they cut out when we were giving our, we held up the little thing to the camera and said who our advantage was going to. Indy held hers up, and she was saying she was giving hers to Charlotte. And she said something about why she wasn't giving it to Ken, but she called him Tim. And so she put her advantage on the tray and then went back and stood in the line. And we were all kind of stood there like looking at each other. And then someone was like, are we going to film that over again? Because she called Ken Tim. And so we all started laughing because like we all knew she had said it, but didn't really want to like interrupt the proceedings. And so we all started laughing. And eventually they came on the speaker, which they never did. They came on the speaker and they were like, Indy, can you please do that again? It was so funny. So yeah, we all ended up giving our advantages, and then quickly we went to the lounge. Watching the games from the lounge was really fun. Watching Same or Different was fun because it's a more fast-paced kind of game and it's easier to play along from the lounge. And it was over a bit more quickly, but the Golden Triangle game actually took a long time. Like it took a really long time. I think that totally fair play. I think that Charlotte was really trying to take all the time she could to understand the game, to try to think about the best move to play. So, it looks like it's very fast paced on the episode, but actually in real time, it took forever, to the point that a lot of us in the lounge had just sort of stopped paying attention really to the game, which I think was bad. Like I kind of felt like it was a little bit disrespectful. Like we kind of should have been paying a bit more attention to what was going on in the game. But part of the reason that we were sort of losing our attention is because Paul was being wild in the lounge. I think in his quest for airtime in the finale, I mean, you saw some of it in the episode. Paul kept making these like really over the top statements. And at one point he was betting the keys to his house to Bex that Charlotte was going to win this round or whatever. And and then Bex kept winding him up and saying stuff to make him say even more crazy stuff. So I remember it was really funny. Like I kept looking over to Bex and then she was like giving me like a wink, wink. Like she was purposely getting Paul going. Also at one point, there were cameras sort of in the wall of the lounge. And at one point, the wall behind where Amanfi was sitting, they opened up the wall and all of a sudden there's a camera and a producer there. And they were like, Psst, Amanfi. And they were like, Amanfi, you need to turn around and look at the camera. And we're going to ask you questions about what's going on in the deathmatch. So you can give us like a play-by-play. And Amanfi was like totally caught off guard. Like we were all caught off guard. And basically they were asking him questions about what was happening in the game. But I think especially with the Golden Triangle game, like none of us really knew the best way to play it. And it was weird why they were asking us about the strategy for the Golden Triangle game. Like we're the losers who didn't make the finals. None of us had seen the game before and didn't have a lot of time to like understand it or understand the strategy. So Amanfi was trying to do his best to be like, yeah, Ken's made this move and it's actually a really good move. And then Charlotte countered with this and here's why that's a good move. And the rest of us were sort of like giggling. And then he started laughing because it was also funny. And eventually they started picking on other people as well. So I remember they asked Scott some questions. I think they asked some to me as well. But yeah, it was a bit silly, like, because I think a lot of us didn't really know what to say. The other thing that happened that was really funny when we were sat in the lounge is at some point we had heard rumors that there was going to be a photo shoot for all of us, like at some point that day, where they were going to take pictures of each of us in our finale outfits. And as soon as I heard that rumor, I was like, oh shit. Like, I remember saying to Indy and Amanfi, who were sat next to me, I was like, we cannot have a photo shoot right now because I'm dressed like a drag queen. And if we have a photo shoot, that photo is what they're going to use. And then everybody's going to think that I'm like a drag queen. So I think I was the only one on the cast who was like, I really hope we don't have a photo shoot. In the end, we didn't. I think maybe because Charlotte took so long with the Golden Triangle game, but I was certainly relieved because it would have been nice to have some photos. Like we actually don't have many photos at all, like none basically from the show other than the promo shots from the very first day. So it would have been nice to have some photos, but I was nervous what they were going to use the photos of me with red lipstick and a kaftan, what they would use them in. Yeah, the two deathmatch games between Ken and Charlotte felt, to me at least, a little bit closer than what it looked like on TV. because in the same or different, it really wasn't until the later rounds that Ken really had pulled ahead. And same with hidden knots and crosses. Like it sort of looked like at any point in time that Charlotte sort of could turn it and end up winning that game. So yeah, I think Charlotte played really well. Ken played really well. It was a good final between the two of them. I'm sad we didn't get to see the third game. So the third game was hidden knots and crosses. And actually in that game, I believe Charlotte would have had 2 advantages and Ken would have only had 1. So unclear what would have happened in that game. But I think the Golden Triangle one was really cool, actually, like as an original game that they made. I thought it was really cool that it utilized the logo for the show. It utilized the table that was in the atrium the whole time. And it ended up being a really interesting game. So yeah, big congratulations to Ken for winning Genius Game. Yeah, I think Ken played a really good game, especially after going into the death match in episode 3. Like I think winning that death match, he came back and basically everyone wanted to work with him. Like I think that me and Indy were the only people who didn't approach him to work with him at that point. Charlotte did, and also like Allison Bex Bedalia all did as well. So yeah, it felt like once he survived that death match, he just sort of really ratcheted up his social game and having a lot of allies. And then once he had those teammates and those people backing him, then he also had the strategy in order to win the main matches. I think he did. To be fair, I think Ken had started forming a relationship with Bex from quite early. Like I think episode 2, he said. So it's not to say that he wasn't doing anything on the social front like prior to that death match, but yeah, it really felt like once he came back from that death match, like it was really rising from the ashes and like shooting to the top of the game. So after the episode was finished filming, it was quite late actually, and I remember we hadn't eaten dinner. So I remember like coming off the set and they basically handed us this thing of dinner, and we were all sort of like trying to frantically like get some bites of food. And then we were told that there was going to be a wrap party on the set, like not the actual set that we filmed in, but somewhere in the premises. And so at a certain point after we were done eating, we went in like small groups. So someone took us like, and I remember walking through all these different hallways in the studio, and I could hear people cheering. And as we were getting closer and closer, I could hear the cheering getting louder and louder. And then we eventually got to the area that was sort of the cafeteria, and it was decorated like a diner. But it was sort of like the cafeteria where all the crew and production people would go to eat their meals while we were filming. And everyone was there in this little cafeteria diner area. And basically, as new people arrived to the party, everyone who was there would clap and cheer for them as they arrived. And it was actually one of the moments that really touched me the most from the whole entire experience. Was I remember when I got there and I saw all these people like clapping and cheering, my first instinct was to act really like awkward and be like, oh, I don't like the people cheering. I'm not gonna accept this moment, and I'm just gonna be a bit awkward about it. And I remember thinking about it, and like we had just gone through this really stressful, like transformative experience the last 12 days doing the show. And I felt like all of us contestants were so brave to put ourselves out there, to have our experience of playing the game be filmed, and then it was going to be shown to all these people. And I just remember thinking in that moment, fuck that. Why am I going to be awkward in this moment and act like I'm uncomfortable that people are cheering as everyone arrives to this party? I was like, fuck that. I am just going to fully embrace this moment and just soak it all up, and also be there to clap for other people. So I just remember like arriving and having those thoughts, and then just like putting my arms up in the air and like, running into the party and just like smiling and clapping and allowing myself to feel the joy in that moment. And it was something that I think I really took from this experience, which is that you are never too cool or too proud to just enjoy the moment. And yeah, I think it's a good lesson for life, like always trying to be in the moment and basically enjoy everything that you can. So yeah, the wrap party ended up being really fun. So all the cast and crew were like packed into this little cafeteria. And so we met a lot of people on the production side of things who we didn't know. So people doing aspects of the show that we had never seen them before. Like we had seen and interacted with a lot of the people, but not everyone. So it was really nice to get to talk to them, particularly the people who were on the games team. So the people who helped design and make all the games we played. Like I really enjoyed getting to talk to a lot of them. Um, and just hearing what they thought about us and how we played the game. I was feeling at this point, I was still feeling like quite sad and a bit down about losing. But like a lot of them were just so nice to me, and they were just like, no, you played great, like you did really great. I remember actually one person, I was talking to them about the dice deception death match, and I was like, did I tell Bedalia to drop the garnet? And they were like, yes, you told him to drop the garnet. And I was like, oh, because I couldn't remember, like everything had happened so fast. So I remember it was just really nice to meet so many people from the production, and people, to say nice things to us, like just meant a lot. And at one point, the big head honcho executive producer, Tamara from Remarkable, who we had never met, like I had never met her before. I had only met the other two executive producers who were there in casting, and then we met them and spoke to them a few times throughout filming. But I had never met the head honcho executive producer. She basically gave up and like gave a speech to everyone, and it was really beautiful, and it just reminded me like how wonderful everyone was who made this show. And I was looking around the room, and I could just see that everybody in the production just had so much respect for her, and it was clear basically that she was a big fan of the Genius, and it was a passion project and something that so much love and care and dedication was put into. And I could also tell that the people working on it were all like really supportive and were being treated well. And it just, I remember feeling really proud to be part of it, because obviously we only see things from our perspective being in the cast. But I just felt a lot of love and support from everyone on that production, and it just made me have so much respect for the people who made the show. Yeah. At one point, I talked to one of the other executive producers, Anna, who was responsible for making all the games. And she said to me, there's a secret that none of you discovered. And she was like, if you get everyone together, I'll tell you. And of course, I was like, oh my God, like what secret didn't we figure out? And so I was running around trying to find all the other cast members. And I was like, guys, Anna's going to tell us like a secret that we missed. And I ran around and tried to find everyone. No one cared. Like everyone was just, I think at that point, like checked out of the game, and they were just there to have some wine, have a drink, like have a laugh, like talk to people. Like I think everyone was like checked out of the game at that point, which totally fair. Like I'm the only crazy person I think who was still, even though the game and the show was over, I was still very much in the game. And so I remember going back to Anna, and I was like, Anna, no one cares about the secret. Can you just tell me? And that's when I found out about the zebra chip having like the mark in it. And so I was just like, oh shit. And she told me then, actually, she was like, we're going to show it in the episode that no one figured it out. So that's why this whole time I was like, oh God, when Safari Race comes out, we're all going to look stupid because no one figured out the zebra thing. But actually they didn't end up showing it in the end, maybe because they didn't want us all to look stupid. But yeah, that's when I found out about the zebra thing. So yeah, we ended up having not that much time actually at the wrap party on set because it was so late. And so eventually they called for us to all kind of come out of the wrap party. And then we went back to our dressing rooms and changed our clothes and got into vans and headed back to the hotel. And I think Scott and Bex and Indy took a bunch of bottles of like Prosecco and wine from the wrap party and brought it to the hotel. And I think we also took a pizza or two from the wrap party. So in this photo, this is actually the first photo that we took as a group right after the finale. So we went to the hotel and found this little like seating area where we could all fit and took this group photo together. And it was a really fun moment because we had all just gone through this crazy experience, but we hadn't really, well, for some of us, like hadn't really been ourselves. And this was the first time that we could be ourselves in real life around each other with no context of a game going on. It was just really fun. Everyone was sort of animated and lively, and we chatted and we talked and we played a couple of games. Like in the reunion, we talked about one of the games we played that Indy showed us. Yeah, and it was just a really fun time, and we like exchanged phone numbers, and yeah, it's really happy memories when I look at that photo. Um, Last night, when the finale was on, I went up to London and I watched it with Ken and Charlotte. It was a really cool experience getting to watch the finale with Ken and Charlotte, and basically only a couple other people in the room, like just partners. Basically, there's only partners and family. There's like 6 of us in the room together watching the episode, which was really crazy. Like, I just have so much love for both of them, Ken and Charlotte, and obviously, over time I've gotten over it a little bit, but I think they're both really deserving finalists. They're excellent players, and more than that, they're just great people as well. So I'm really glad that they've given me a chance to be friends with them in real life, because I don't think I was the most fun to play games with on TV, but I'm a lot more fun to play games with in real life. So yeah, final thoughts on everyone. Like, I just think it's a really good cast. It's a really good group. And I think some of the criticisms people have had about the show are fair, but some of that is down to the design of things. Like, I don't think you can fault anyone for wanting to play these games in a group, because actually the way a lot of the games were set up, the way you could succeed in the game was by getting a group of people together. And also, I don't think you can really be mad at players for prioritizing their survival and not wanting to come in last place, over doing things like making these like big flashy moves and betrayals. Because although that makes good television, it's actually not smart for the game. And we were all there to play a game. So I think that's the biggest difference between, our show and the Korean show, is that the Korean Genius had a lot of celebrities and people, I think, who cared a lot more about how they were going to be portrayed. And so their goal was more to like be fun and like make good TV. Whereas like, I don't think many of us were really there to quote unquote make good TV. Like, we were there to play the game. So I don't think you can fault people for actually just, trying to get along and play the social game side of things rather than make crazy moves that are just going to piss everyone off. Like, I think people discovered quite early on, like, if you're really aggressive, then you're going to be a target. So, it happened with Scott in episode 1, and then by episode 2, he was targeted. So I think that kind of set the tone. But yeah, I think maybe if the show does get a second season, I'm sure that they'll tweak some things about the structure of the game that incentivize a little bit more risk-taking and betrayal, and also potentially, maybe the garnets are a bit more important. So it incentivizes people to try to win the main matches more than just trying to not come in last place. But yeah, I really love this group. I love this cast. I think everyone's wonderful. I've actually learned a lot from people. I think people like Ken and Amanfi are some of the most like gracious and forgiving people that I've ever met. Because I was a sore loser after the show was over, and I said some things that if I were in Ken's shoes and someone said, I would be really mad at them. But I think Ken was actually really kind and gracious to me, in a way that I would not have been. And Amanfi as well, like, he basically got eliminated in this bullshit way without a proper death match, and never held grudges, and just like had such a good attitude about the whole thing. So yeah, they make me want to be a better person in real life. And also even people like Bex and Bedalia, who perhaps their approach to the game was quite different than mine. And at the time, I didn't really respect their approach to the game as much as I should have. I have so much respect for their success in real life, because they have achieved and done things that I could never. Having such large like followings for their social medias and their businesses, like, Bedalia is a DJ, and Bex with her company that she runs and her social media around traveling. Like, what they've accomplished is just insane. And if I had just a handful of the social skill that and the motivation that they have, like, I could do incredible stuff instead of just being a lazy grump. So yeah, I found it really inspiring to be a part of this group. And actually, at the time when we were filming, I think some people felt a lot of imposter syndrome around the game and whether they fit in as a player in the Genius game. I never really felt that imposter syndrome. I felt like I belonged as a contestant on Genius Game. But where I feel my imposter syndrome is with these people in real life, because I see the things that they are doing and achieving in real life. And I'm like, oh God, these are just really great people. And I'm just a dramatic asshole that got put on a TV show with them. So yeah, I hope we continue to be friends and keep hanging out and doing things together. So in terms of what's next, so I think I mentioned last time, last summer I went to Louisiana and filmed a live reality game with a bunch of other people who were fans of these kinds of competitive reality shows. So Greenhouse 8 premieres tonight, actually. So it's Thursday, June 13th in the UK, but it's actually like earlier in the evening on the 12th in the US. So the time difference is what makes it the 13th for the UK. But you can find that on my friend Taylor Luke's YouTube channel. So if you just search Greenhouse 8 or Taylor Luke on YouTube, you can find all of his seasons. And he's got a bunch of seasons of his own original format called Greenhouse. And then he's also done loads of seasons of Survivor, Big Brother, The Genius. Like there's 2 Genius seasons there. So yeah, his content is really cool. So yeah, if you want to watch me play another game, I will be there on Greenhouse 8. Also coming up on Tuesday, June 24th, Ken is putting together a Blood on the Clock Tower charity stream. And I believe that it's going to be around 12 people. And I think half of us are Genius Game players, and the other half are either people from No Rules Barred or people that Ken knows from his Clock Tower community. So that will be really fun, sort of a meeting of both worlds with Genius Game and NRB. So yeah, more details to come. You can, I'm sure I'll post on my social media, but also Ken will as well. And lastly, we have been filming some stuff, some content with the Genius Game crew that Ken has been putting together. So I'm sure that will come out, pretty soon. But yeah, hopefully there's more to come with us that we can share with all of you. And I think there's a small but really dedicated and passionate community around this show and shows like this. And so hopefully we can continue to grow that community and engage with that community, and we can have more shows like this. I really hope that Genius Game can get a second season in some form. But I'm sure even if it doesn't, there's probably going to be more content that's like this, whether it comes out on streaming services or online or on TV. So yeah, that's everything. Thank you all for watching these videos and for supporting. Like, it's been really nice actually to have a place where I can sort of get things off my chest and express my perspective. And at certain times it was hard to read comment sections in different places like Twitter and Reddit. So it was actually really nice to know that I had this little place, and maybe like as delusional as that is, it was nice to have a little place of positivity around the show where I could talk about things and experience things with other people. So yeah, thanks everyone so much, and I will see you soon. Bye.